Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to Terrible Podcast, Season 9, Episode 113. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Alongside me, as always, Dave Bryan. Dave, rookie minicamp is here. They have a roster. It's finally been released. I've been jonesing for this roster, and they finally released it Friday morning.
Football in shorts, and it looks like it's rainy up in your neck of the woods up that way there, according to some pictures already surfacing on the Twitter machine there. So a rainy start to the Steelers rookie minicamp that will obviously run through Sunday, and the roster was finally released early this morning by the team. It looks like it's 60 players on it. It looks obviously the 9 draft picks, the 11 undrafted free agents. It looks like 18 tryout rookies, 1 first-year tryout player, and then the rest would be first-year carryover players who are already under contract ahead of the draft there. So when you go down that list, what, if anything, sticks out the most to you?
Well, you know, I'm kind of quirky and like the weird stats of the weird. And so the first thing I was looking for, and this is how big of a nerd I am, I'm literally going around my house last night. I was walking to the kitchen and thinking, is Levon Hooks going to be on the rookie minicamp roster this year again? And sure enough, he was. That was the first thing I looked for, number 95, Levon Hooks. This is his 5th rookie minicamp. He's 27 years old. He's had 4 with the Steelers and 1 with Green Bay when he broke into the league. So Levon Hooks is the rookie minicamp veteran of the group.
He should definitely be able to provide some instruction, should he not?
I think he's teaching it. I think he's just coaching it. I mean, it's hilarious. But, hey, you know, good for him. He's still sticking around.
Yeah, and, you know, look, obviously to stick around as long as he has shows you something. I don't know if he's going to be able to stick around. You know, Is he somebody we should talk more about maybe as potentially being the 5th or 6th guy this year? Or is that still asking a little bit too much?
I think we're past that point. I think maybe 2 years ago, I thought he was making a late push. Remember they Johnny Maxey and neither of them ended up making the 53. Practice squad, I guess, is still possible. I mean, I'm not even sure what eligibility is for him at this point, but I don't think he's making the 53.
Yeah, I think how many years has he been on the practice squad now?
Almost all of them since 2016, I think.
That eligibility might have run out by now.
But I thought the rookie minicamp eligibility would have ran out by now, and yet here we are.
Yeah. All right. Anything else stick out to you on this list?
Well, obviously everyone's going to look at the rookie numbers, and those are subject to change. I don't know how much they changed last year. Obviously, we know Devin Bush is locked in at 55, so you got the list here where Benny Snell has 24, so he's not wearing 26. I assume that's going to go to Mark Barron, so they still haven't given Barron an official number yet. But Snell right now is wearing 24. Justin Lane wearing 31. Duran Grace taking Gilbert's number of 77. Isaiah Buggs has 96. What's Diontae Johnson? 18, I think. He's 18.
Yeah, and he kind of hinted around ahead of time that would potentially be his number. Right. But once again, none of these are final.
Mm-hmm. Did they change from last year though? Because I feel like no rookie changed their number from last year's rookie minicamp.
Oh Lord, I don't remember. I don't remember.
I mean, don't go out and buy jerseys yet, just because you don't know. But I'm just curious. And what else sticks out to you? Because I'm going to look that up. I'm just curious.
Let's see. Well, Benny Snell, you know, there was all that talk about Benny Snell taking 26. Now, once again, these are not official. They might be just jerking his chain a little bit and making him kind of earn that number 26, if you will. But he starts off with 24. I kind of thought 24 would end up in the hands of Justin Lane, but he's got 31. So you got this big what we thought. Then, you know, obviously, I think like you said, Gentry wearing 83 has everybody upset on the Twitter machine.
I don't know why.
And obviously that, look, I mean, at some point that number is going to be reissued, one would think, right? And it didn't even
Damon Patterson wore it last year.
Well, and who was the kid, the wide receiver late in the season, caught a deep touchdown pass from Ben, I think against the Dolphins or something. Oh, I'm drawing a blank on who he is. was a Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver at one point.
Wow.
You know who? You know who I'm talking.
I probably know who. I don't
all
know.
All the he played in the AFC Championship game against the Bengals. Dude, this is killing me now.
This is like the worst game of guess who.
Yeah, this is.
He played in the championship. What?
Yeah, he actually played in the. I'm pulling it up right now, Alex. This is killing me.
All right.
I thought it was 83.
We're off to a good start here. Either of us. We're all good.
I've even had plenty of coffee this morning.
Yeah.
Hamilton. Kobe Hamilton.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep, I got you. Yeah, you're right. Good point.
So he's had 83 in the past. People are probably shouting at their at their phone right now. Kobe Hamilton.
Or they're shouting, "It doesn't matter. Move on."
Yeah, spit it out. Spit it out. Well, we could go right into the ABBA talk again, but
oh wow.
All right, so there you go. There's our initial thoughts, and we'll see what all comes out of rookie minicamp this week. I mean, probably a few interviews and all like that. But when Mike Tomlin does finally talk to the media, and I think that's probably going to happen, I don't know, Saturday or Sunday, it'll be the same old stuff out of his mouth. This is more of an instruction period, not an evaluation period, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, a lot of these kids are coming in. They probably just got handed a playbook. They'll go through a couple meetings, and out on the field they go. So I think the biggest takeaway here is how many of these, what's the feedback, if any, that we get on a lot of these younger players picking the stuff up quickly, and i.e. being in the right space. Obviously, there's not any hitting or anything, any pads or anything like that. It is mostly instruction. And didn't you just write up this morning a few of the things that Brandon Hunt had to say about what the team looks for in rookie minicamp?
Yep, and it's probably not what we're going to look for as a fan base, because from the fan base you're going to be enthralled by, of course, you're going to probably get some media reports about, oh, Devin Bush looks so fast, or Justin Lane made this great breakup, and, that's all nice, and it's good to talk about football, and that's all well and good, but, it's rookie minicamp, and the important stuff is the install, staying healthy, and as Brandon Hunt said, he told Missy Matthews on Steelers.com. Brandon Hunt, by the way, if you don't know, is the Steelers pro scouting coordinator, and potentially an heir to Kevin Colbert. Maybe we talk about that a little bit later, but Hunt says, quote, "The main thing we want to see is we want to see shape, we want to see competitiveness, how they respond to a new environment. We want to see how they're going to interact in adverse situations, because it's not going to be as clean as some of the situations they were in college. Just see how they react and respond to coaching. We want to see who's going to step up, who's going to potentially have that wide-eyed look." So it's just trying to get a baseline feel of where these guys are at from a conditioning standpoint and from a coaching standpoint, kind of how they take it and how they learn and how they figure things out.
And we'll probably see a couple of these tryout players latch on, by come time Monday rolls around there. Who was it? Patterson and Prince. Yep. Were two, I think, last year. And then there's obviously the story going back about Terrence Garvin several years ago about not only making it as making the offseason roster as a tryout player, but going on to making the 53-man roster as well too. You never know what can happen, injury wise, and which one of these. Maybe one of these younger players, undrafted or whatnot, end up, making a push and eventually making a 53-man roster. So we try to learn about as much as we can about most of these guys, especially the undrafted, moving forward here. And then once we get into training camp and get Alex's reports and just start seeing how it shakes out from there.
Marcus Tucker, another tryout player that didn't stick in a regular season, but was with the team for several years and is playing in the CFL right now. A couple quick things.
He's a guy that we thought we were talking about this same time last year, thinking maybe a legitimate shot at making the 53. And obviously, what did he have? He had some sort of, I think, injury that kind of.
Yep. I think rolled an ankle.
Rolled an ankle there that hurt him a little bit there, and then lo and behold, he's gone. So last year at this time, there was a lot of buzz about Matthew Thomas.
Right.
Wow. I mean, it just goes to show you, you don't know. I mean, we can speculate and say, well, okay, it's like the Fred Johnson, the kid out of Florida who seems to be one of the highest priority undrafted free agents this year. We're probably going to talk quite a bit about him and whoever else, one of the other one or two to get the high signing bonuses for that group this year. But You get into training camp, and they might be gone quicker than they arrived.
Yeah, you never know. Once you get to the field, all that stuff doesn't matter. What you did in college, what your signing bonus was, doesn't matter. Can you play? That's what coaches care about.
I thought there was a quick, and I think you put this in your post too, about what Jim Nagy had to say about rookie minicamp players.
Yeah, Jim Nagy, director of the Senior Bowl, a longtime scout for Seattle, and he said sometimes that you can know basically right away if you made a mistake or not. This is a tweet from May that kind of blew up for football Twitter. He says, Nagy does, rookie minicamp is an exciting time for NFL staffs, but there are some oh crap moments where teams immediately know a player that they just drafted isn't what they thought he was. I was with a team once that took a skill player in round 3, and we knew right away it was a bad pick. And I think he's referring to Amara Doba, a third-round receiver in 2017 who lasted just 1 year. So, yeah, you can kind of right away get a baseline feel for – and I remember Marquise Pouncey. I think it might have been an OTAs, but I think he was asked, rookie, first-round pick, how hard is this? And Pouncey went, it's not that bad. And you just kind of knew right away that this is a guy that had things figured out and was going to play really well. And you kind of get that feel sometimes.
Right.
With the trial players, I'm gonna go through them and write up a post on all the trial players, just kind of a quick bio on them because I like talking about them because, as you said, probably history says 1 or 2 of them will be signed. I knew I think 6 or 7 of them prior to today's roster release. A couple interesting names. Mentioned it the other day on the podcast. Devlin Hodges from Sanford broke Steve McNair's FCS record. He's a good athlete. Ran 4.79. I didn't get 8 rushing touchdowns last year for Sanford. Threw just a ton of touchdown passes, ton of production there. Some of the running backs are interesting just in terms of their backstory. Cardin Johnson from James Madison. I think 2 torn Achilles in his college career. 5th-year grad student. Fought through a lot. So good on him for making it into a camp. Steve McShane from Western Illinois, baseball player and football player, so he kind of was the multi-sport star in school. And then if you're wondering if they gave out Antonio Brown's number, it's just to a trial player, but Milan Richard from Clemson, really big recruit coming out. Didn't have a good career at Clemson, was kind of just a blocker only, but strong athletic family background. His uncle, Herschel Walker, family were track stars. So interesting names there. We'll get the rest later today. And then to circle back what I asked earlier, the rookies didn't change their numbers last year. Mason Rudolph wore number 2. James Washington had 13. Samuels 38. Marcus Allen 27. So I know the jersey numbers aren't set in stone, but I'm not sure if they're going to change things too much.
Do you think it's a coincidence that a tryout player gets 884?
I don't know. Yeah, I wonder. I wonder.
Kind of like God, which just don't mean anything to us now, and even give it to a tight end too.
Right.
In Milan Richard, people run. People think AAB's put on some inches and some weight.
Right.
6'4", 250 running around there.
Yeah.
6'2", 232 out of Clemson.
Yeah. Well, either way, still bigger than AB. Anything else stick out for you for the rookie minicamp? How about the kickers? They got Matthew Wright. They got Matt White at punter. They got Jordan Berry. They got Ian Berryman. I mean, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, maybe they're trying to put 4 together to get 2. So
I think so.
We'll see. And also, speaking of kickers, as look, we're not experts in evaluating kickers by any stretch of the imagination, but I think both of us agreed going into long before going into this week, we've said it several times that Matt McCrane, the kicker that they had signed last year after Chris Boswell had gotten injured, he obviously kicked in the finale against the Bengals there. And look, he did his job. I mean, made the kicks he was supposed to make and those kind of things. But I think it was kind of obvious, not only in that game, but looking at kind of what he had did with the other teams there, that he didn't have the strongest leg, especially when it came to kickoffs there. And it was hard to imagine him, potentially making it to training camp this year. And that obviously wound up being the case because because of them needing a handful of roster spots here at the end, in signing a few of these draft picks here, they had to make a few roster moves. So out the door goes Matt McCrane. Not a big surprise. I know you weren't shocked by it, but one guy that you might have been surprised with was Jack Tocho, who I believe I wouldn't be doing my duty if I didn't let everybody know that you had him on your initial 53-man roster prediction.
want to put that one down as oops. Yeah, this is why it was framed.
It's always fun to look back
early.
at this. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I was the first to make fun of myself for it. And of course, the one guy I put on my 53-man roster gets cut right away. So my roster's already been broken a week after it's been posted. But yeah, you never know. It could have been a medical thing. It could have been an off the field thing. Or it could have just been a numbers thing. I mean, it's impossible to say. Tocho though. I was laughing and crying. Did you see the tweet that he had about it? That little
yeah, the in the door, out the door.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, he was here for a couple of weeks and he's out the door. I mean, that's life of the NFL. It is cruel. I mean, as great stories as there can be for some of these guys. Dwayne Wallace from Kansas, the rookie guard, actually, by the way, a trial player, has a really good story. An easy guy to root for. Foster care. Brother died. Has a daughter, trying to do it for her. I mean, he's really a good guy to root for. But for as many good stories as you have, I mean, the NFL is certainly cruel.
Yes, it is. Especially some of these, these guys sign, usually the guys, the last ones in the door before the draft are the ones that you really got to keep an eye on, Mm-hmm. There's a good chance that a lot of those will be the first ones back out the door again. So, right. Obviously, if the Steelers sign a couple of these tryout players here, then they're going to have to make room for them. I think the roster now is at 92 because remember Scotty Williamson does not count as a international player, and Ryan Shazier, now that he's been moved to reserve PUP, he does not count either. So I believe you have 92 guys, and then of course obviously the I guess it'd be 19 total tryout players that are in town right now, but obviously they're not under contract yet.
Does Hilton count because he's not under contract technically, but he's on the roster? How does that work?
Yeah,
I wouldn't think he counts.
Well, here's the thing: he counts on as far as the NFLPA goes because he has an outstanding tender.
Okay, so he does.
Well, that's like the draft picks. The draft picks technically,
True.
Even before this weekend, they technically count. Because now they count at a minimum salary, but they technically count. That's like Le'Veon Bell. Last year, mm-hmm. he technically counted against your because he has an outstanding tender out there.
Okay, so Hilton would still count against the 90-man roster as a player.
To my understanding, yes.
I mean that makes sense. Okay, so Shazier and Scotty are the reason why it's 92.
Right, and they put in that rule. I don't think it was last year. I think it was the year before last year that the owners voted in, and it was kind of insignificant. And really, it's one of those rules that I didn't come across until much later in the process. You remember the old thing was you could not move a guy from your offseason roster to IR until like after the second or third preseason game.
Right. Yep,
without having to pass through waivers, and that's just silly.
Mm-hmm.
You're just holding up a spot on the 90-man roster there. So they made it now where injured guys, as long as they're going to be out, I forget what the time frame is, but guys like Shazier and any guy that would get injured moving forward, like last year with Hawkins and who was the tight end?
Jake McGee.
Yeah, Jake McGee. You can instantly move those guys to IR and
mm-hmm.
not have to waive them injured and worry about having them clear waivers and those kind of things.
Yeah.
So that's why the last couple of years, last year at this time and then obviously this year at this time, we've seen the Steelers be able to immediately take Ryan Shazier and place him on reserve PUP.
Gotcha. And you're right. That makes a lot more sense than the way they had it before. And you just hope for good health this weekend, too. That's the number one thing. Everyone come in relatively good shape, take good coaching, leave healthy. Because unfortunately, and I'm going to knock on wood here for a second, someone's going down in some camp somewhere. Remember Diontae Fowler, first day rookie minicamp 2015, towards ACL out for the year? I mean, those stories are pretty common, unfortunately. And you hope that they don't happen. You hope they don't happen to your team. But they're going to happen somewhere. So you just hope everyone exits healthy.
And with it being wet out there, that's another reason to worry.
Yeah.
So hold your rosaries today.
Now you're scaring me more. I was scared myself. But yeah, rookie minicamp. We'll hear from some of the players, and we hear from coaches. We hear from coaches a little bit too.
Is it now or during OTAs? I know we hear. I know we hear from Tomlin like on Saturday or Sunday. I don't think we hear from the position coaches again until OTAs, if memory serves me.
Okay.
And I just posted on Twitter yesterday. In fact, I said, "Man, it's a shame they took Derwin Gray with the last pick because we didn't get a chance to hear from Sean Sarrett."
Mm-hmm.
And obviously with him being being, not a new coach, but obviously new as the offensive line head guy. But, I'm sure we'll get to hear from him at some point during the OTAs, because I don't know about you, I always look forward to this time of year for the sheer fact that we get to hear from coaches that we really don't get to hear from once the season gets underway. Sure, we get to hear from the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, Mike Tomlin, and maybe Danny Smith every now and again. But outside of that, maybe during the bye week we get to hear from the position coaches, but it's few and far between. And I always like to get the kind of the raw thoughts of the position group coaches.
No, I do too. I mean, I love getting to hear from James Daniel, and I was so excited when they drafted Gentry just to hear from Daniel, and they didn't ask him any questions, and it was a 2-minute press conference. I'm like, come on, give me something.
Yeah, they asked him about tight ends playing quarterback.
It's about Heath Miller, yeah. I'm just like, all right, well, we're done here. So yeah, no, I mean, when Richard Mann was the receivers coach, and Daryl Drake is cut from that similar cloth. So I love Daryl Drake, and yeah, it's good to hear from those guys. I think you are right. I think it probably is during OTAs, not during rookie minicamp. But they'll make the roster moves on Sunday, and then we'll see what moves they make.
All right, they're moving right along and signing their members of their draft class, and that is to be expected. In fact, they're probably a tad bit ahead of even what they did last year. Entering today, they had 7 of their 9 draft picks under contract, and it's easier to read the list of players not yet signed, and that, of course, is Devin Bush and Justin Lane. And one would think there might be a little wiggle room as far as where Justin Lane was drafted, as far as maybe offsets and stuff along that nature and all like that. So maybe we're waiting a little while for him. And as far as Bush goes, with Bush being a top 10 pick this year, there really shouldn't be that much the biggest negotiation might be how the first year money's paid out, the payment schedule. That might be the biggest thing, because all 4 years of the contract should be guaranteed. I guess the only other kind of negotiations to go on, because most of these things are slotted. We know what all these contracts are going to basically look like, from structure, salary cap, signing bonus, total value, and all like that goes. Now, the only other thing maybe with Bush might be the language as far as what may or may not violate the guarantees, So that might come into play here with Bush, along with maybe some offset language. But man, with him being up as high as he is in that top 10, and you go back and you look at how quickly Josh Rosen, who was the number 10 pick, signed last year. I think if you go back before that, how quickly the number 10s have signed since the new CBA. One would think, and that's probably dangerous in my situation to do, is to think, one would think that he will get done quicker than Terrell Edmonds did last year. And the thing with Edmonds was he was around that gray area there of kind of maybe having to wait for that guy after him to sign. And I think it was Taven Bryan, if I'm not mistaken, to see kind of the language in there. And that's generally what happens with some of these guys. They want to see where the cutoff line is, where some of these offsets and what the language is, so the agents can kind of negotiate harder to one side or the other there. So, the long and short of it is Devin Bush will be under contract. Justin Lane will be under contract, or should be, long before the start of training camp. And personally, I'll be surprised if Devin Bush isn't signed ahead of what Edmonds was signed last year.
Yeah, that was right before training camp. It did take a while for Edmonds. And I know that for Bush, the picks around him have started to sign quickly, too. Like T.J. Hawkinson at 8 got signed. Ed Oliver at 9 got signed. Christian Wilkinson at 13 got signed. Dwayne Haskins at 15 got signed. So there should be a pretty good baseline created for Bush.
Where was Gary? Didn't Gary sign?
Well,
did you mention
did he sign? He was 12. I don't know if he signed or not, though.
I think he's signed, too. So, I mean, you kind of getting boxed in there,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that should make it easier.
Yeah, it should make the negotiation really easier there. And heck,
he did sign. You're right.
Did he? Okay, so who is left right around Bush who hasn't signed?
Jonah Williams was at 11, so we'll see what Cincinnati does with Mike Brown. I think that'd be the only one around him that hasn't signed.
Mike Brown's not gonna make no concessions.
I know. Mike Brown's gonna try to get Jonah for $5.
Right. They now he'll probably obviously have to guarantee all 4 years, but as far as language goes and stuff like that, Mike Brown's not much of a giver there
Yeah.
when it comes to that stuff. So
Looks like him and maybe Chris Lindstrom at 14. I'm not sure if he signed, but basically everyone around Bush is
right.
signed, so that'll help out.
Okay, we covered the draft picks, we covered the roster. Where to now?
Well, just to touch on another draft pick, you wrote the article yesterday, Dave, that PFF's probably been one of the biggest fans of Diontae Johnson of anybody in this draft process, and kind of consider him a maybe sleeper candidate for Rookie of the Year. What's your take on that?
Yeah, that seems very optimistic to me.
It does. It does.
I mean, I haven't gone through the entire list of offensive players, skill position players drafted in the first couple of rounds there. But if I were putting together a list of the top 10 and their chances of being candidates to win the offensive rookie player of the year in 2019, pretty sure Diontae Johnson wouldn't have been on it. Because look, I mean, it's so hard for a wide receiver even to win the award. I think going back to 2004, the last 15 seasons, only two have been able to do that. Beckham Jr. and I think Percy Harvin. So it's just wide receivers really have to have a strong season to win that award there. So that's strike one against them. Strike two, I don't know if Mike Renner maybe forgot that they signed this guy named Dante Moncrief during the offseason there. And look, I've obviously gone back and looked at even more Diontae Johnson tape even since we last talked there. His 2017 tape might be even better than his 2018 tape. I don't know how far you've gone back, Alex, and I know that's a little bit of hyperbole on my part there, but he did have a better quarterback at Toledo. What's that kid's name? Logan
Woodside.
Woodside there, who obviously is even in the AAF this year.
He was drafted by the Bengals, I want to say. Yeah, he's been around a little bit. They had this past year they had, I think, two new quarterbacks. They were like freshmen or redshirt sophomores to put his numbers down a little bit. Right,
and if you go back and you look at the kind of plays that Diontae made back in 2017, put it this way, I found out a little bit more by being able to look at that tape. Of him. There's you find a contested catch or two, but Diontae Johnson's tape is not littered with contested catches. You do find some decent route running in there. You do see him running out of the slot and really playing all positions on offense there when you go back and look further back at his tape too. But all that said, how quickly do we expect Diontae Johnson to come in and get a significant amount of snaps in the first, 6 games of the season? If you assume that Moncrief's probably going to be your week 1 X receiver and Juju and 11 personnel is probably going to get a predominant amount of time in slot, right?
Yep, for sure.
All right, and unless you and really Deontay's not an ideal Z, right? I mean, he can play it, but
no, the way it would have to be is if Washington continued to struggle, then Juju plays a Z. Johnson is in the slot, or Moncrief's in the slot, or Dante Moncrief is at the Z. I mean, you can move that around. Diontae Johnson's not playing the Z receiver spot though.
You hope not.
Yeah, but you could move the other guys around to get Johnson on the field. That's
right. And if he was to play, barring injury, of course, his best shot at seeing the field would be probably in the slot, right?
Or the X. I think because who else is going to play the X? You got Moncrief and Johnson, and that's
well,
it.
yeah, I'm assuming Moncrief stays on the field quite a bit.
Yeah, but if Moncrief has to move, then that would open up Johnson to play the X. Like if Moncrief has to go to the Z, then Johnson becomes the X.
Right, and of course we hope that we don't have to see Moncrief playing a lot of Z either in that situation. So look, can you? We saw last year, kind of right out of the chute, that Washington was able to get on the field there, but we also see how that went as well. Now, you can go back a couple years ago with Juju, obviously. Juju sort of was an exception to the rule, Mm-hmm. I think where it comes to production. To think that another wide receiver is going to come in that quick and make that kind of impact that Juju did a couple years ago, I think is just asking way too much there. What is a realistic expectation for Diontae Johnson, barring him being thrown out into the Wolves here because of injury?
I wish I could tell you. I mean, obviously, you know,
300 offensive snaps, a little bit too optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, it could be right around there. It's just going to depend. I mean, how's this guy going to look? What's the progression of Moncrief and Washington? Is, Johnson's progression, injuries? I couldn't tell you. Obviously, Rookie of the Year is going to be a long shot. Now, PFF does have him ninth. It's not like they have him, as their second guy. But you're right. I mean, Juju didn't even win Rookie of the Year in his great rookie season. I think the last receiver that did it was Odell Beckham Jr., who put up 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. And, Diontae Johnson isn't doing that. But I will say this, is that I think his versatility is going to help. It's going to help him get on the field. It's going to help with his numbers. He can play slot. He can play on the outside. And I assume he's going to do something in the return game. So I think if you add everything together, he might be a productive player just because he's doing so much for you.
No way Tomlin throws him out there as a rookie returner week 1, right?
No, he could. He did that with Juju and Terrell Watson 2017. Remember that disaster? Didn't return a kick all camp, and week 1 they're out there doing it.
Yeah,
he'll put him out there before he puts Cam Sutton or a defender out there. I'll tell you that much. Never had over Tomlin's cold dead body is he going to put a defender returning kicks and punts? No way.
That's a good point. The thing going back, I watched a couple more kickoffs of Johnson. He's going to have to quit bobbling that football a little bit.
All right, I'm going to look for it. You keep talking about it.
He put a couple, I think, on the ground there. Now, he did have that nice, I posted the clip of that one going through his 2017 tape, that, 99, 100 yards against Elon, and people say, well, it's only Elon. I don't care. There's still 11 guys out there on the other side of the field there. So, look, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if he shows to be reliable and trustful, nothing else has worked. It sure would be nice to see a return or two get past the 50 this year, right?
Oh, get past the 30. I mean, I think the long kick return they had last year was 35 yards. I mean, it was Switzer back there. And Switzer's a good return guy. He's had success at every level. And coming to Pittsburgh, it's just where returners go to die, unfortunately. I will say this for the rookie year. Obviously, guys are going to surprise. Philip Lindsay last year, you never know what's going to happen. But there isn't a standout slam dunk Saquon Barkley Rookie of the Year candidate, right? I mean, it was first only one running back taken in the first round, and that could be in a timeshare with Josh Jacobs. So there isn't, and the receiver class is relatively weak. So I feel it's kind of open at least for who that Rookie of the Year might be.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a quarterback or a running back.
Yeah, I mean, definitely probably a quarterback, but you know how they struggle. But a running back, I mean, who did the PFF have on that list? Do you remember who their top guys were? Jacobs and Miles Sanders and one of the receivers, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look. I don't have that pulled up right in front of me right now.
Yeah. Well, either way, I think it has helped the odds a little bit. That it is kind of, I think it is pretty open in terms of rookies.
Hold on, I'll read them off to you here real quick here. They have ranked number 1, Kyler Murray. That's understandable. Miles Sanders, number 2 with the Eagles. Look, Miles Sanders could get a lot of work there with the Eagles. Josh Jacobs with the Raiders. Dwayne Haskins with the Redskins. Deebo Samuel, the top-rated wide receiver. There with the 49ers. David Montgomery, running back with the Bears. T.J. Hawkinson with the Lions, tight end. A.J. Brown, wide receiver with the Titans. And then Diontae Johnson just sticks out like a sore thumb, kind of. I don't know. With the Steelers at number 9. Then Jay Sternberger. I don't know. Was Mike Renner just... I don't know, would he put all the skill positions in a bucket and draw names or what?
Yeah, right.
After, okay, I'm going to name Kyler Murray number 1. Then let me just draw a few names out here. But anyway, yeah, I get your drift there. I mean, there's really, outside of really Murray, I mean, who you got to put on the list?
Mm-hmm. And rookie quarterbacks, you just never quite know how they're going to go. The interception numbers could be higher. I mean, obviously, Diontae Johnson's probably not going to win it, but it does feel pretty open.
All right, and obviously it'll be a good problem to have if Diontae Johnson does win it.
Dave,
maybe.
Did I tell you pre-show that I want to go back to our Jordan Berry debate? Because I have a differing view, shockingly. I'm defending a special teams player, which I'm sure you're floored by. But you had really good information on Berry, and I'm not going to pretend like Jordan Berry had this amazing season. But I dove deeper into his numbers. I wanted to kind of see, because my whole point is Jordan Berry's numbers aren't great because, one, he's not an elite punter. I think he's generally an average punter. But also that the Steelers value hang time in placement and not allowing returns over the distance. And I think that's the big reason why his numbers tend to suffer compared to other guys.
Well, I mean, I did point that out in my post, right? The hang time and
Yeah, you did.
And the directional kicking. I mean, if there's any, those are the only arguments this year. Because look, the previous year I made the argument that working on the shorter fields hurt him. Okay, which I mean, if you only have 45 yards to work with, it's really going to 25% of the time it's really going to test your skill set as far as can you kick it shorter than that and still get it, to not go in the end zone there. But just the last year when you go through and you take out kind of those exceptions, and he had less percentage of his punts have to be where the ball was originally located, on the opposition side of the 50-yard line there. Yeah, I mean, you start whittling it away. It becomes obvious that the only things maybe keeping him around are the hang time and his ability to directional kick. Now, you did point out, rightly point out that the ones that were downed inside the 10, a large percentage of those turned out very, very favorable for the Steelers.
Yeah, he had 4 punts inside the 5, and they all resulted in points for the defense. 2 safeties, a forced fumble touchdown, and Bud Dupree's pick 6 against Tampa. But the big stat I wanted to look at was that Jordan Berry had 63 punts last year, and 37 of them were either fair caught or down, meaning that there wasn't a return, it didn't go out of bounds, it wasn't bounced in the end zone for a touchback. 37 of 63.
Well, we highlighted that too, right? Like only 16 or something were returned, right? In my post.
Yeah, I'm looking at it the other way, but basically one and the same. But that's 50, essentially 59% of his punts didn't have a return; they were fair caught or down. That was number 1 in the NFL of all punters. And again, I think that really highlights the philosophy of this team. Because if you look at the guys that had really high average, generally they were pretty low ranking on the fair caught or down. Like Sam Cook was the worst in the fair caught down category because he's got a great leg and they asked him to really kick for distance. So I just think you have to frame it. If you look at Berry as just comparing him to and I know that you're not necessarily doing this, but I'm talking just generally, if you're comparing Berry to Michael Dixon or Sam Cook or one of the big booming leg punters, you're doing it wrong because what the Steelers value in their approach is fundamentally different to say Seattle or Baltimore.
How many of the punts from one thing I didn't look at? How many of the punts from the Steelers inside the Steelers' own 21? Now I know his net average wasn't, or his average wasn't great on those punts towards the bottom of the league. But how many of those were returned
from his 20? Back.
From inside, from inside, from the 20 to the Steelers' own end zone.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder how many of those, and obviously he didn't have, but what was it, 11 or 13 or something? I don't have the poster in front of me. How many of those were returned?
Yeah, I know this stat though. In terms of top 5, in terms of putting punts inside the opposing 20, in terms of the percentage, Berry ranked 6. So I know that he'd had less punts in opponent territory, but still he did a very, very good job of pinning teams inside the 20. 44% of his punts did that. That was 6 in the NFL.
And obviously, look, they signed him to a 2-year contract. Now, as we talked about on the last show there, the signing bonus they gave him, he's not uncuttable.
Sure. Yeah, his spot's not a lock, to be clear. His spot is not a lock.
However, it's going to have to take someone who can do the things that he can do, his strengths, which appear to be directional punting and hang time, going to have to do it better than him because overall, I mean, you're not going to give the guy the $750,000 and then just throw that money. Nobody should be shocked if Berry doesn't make it, but on the flip side, there's no reason to think that he's going to be tough to be an out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then they also fight Berryman in camp, but they'll also look at the entire league and see if they want to make a move there too. But I just wanted to point that out because I think when it comes to Jordan Berry and the punting team, you have to look at how the Steelers prioritize things, and they're not looking for 70-yard punts that have big chances for returns. They're looking for left hash, left number, 4.5 second hang time, no return. That's kind of their MO.
Right, exactly.
And the guy they
it's all not. We live in a stats league. We go by rankings.
Yeah.
We go by look at his net average or look at his gross average down there. And yeah, I mean that's why I took all the time last year too to try to go through his stats to try to defend him. And I thought I did a pretty good job of it. But it was just like I said in this year's kind of post with going over the same numbers, it was just harder to do so in the same method that I did last year, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I highlighted. Well, Pro Football Focus had this on his hang time, which was like I don't know what I write, like the sixth best or something seventh best or something like that. So those have to be the reason. It'd be interesting to hear if Danny Smith asked that.
Mm-hmm. And the guy that they brought in, Berryman, what is he known for? It's for directional punting and his placement, his hang time. I mean, that's the type. It's like with running backs. You got to be a big running back to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. For a punter, you have good directional punting and hang time to be a Steeler.
They can't return it on you if they they can't take it back to the house if they can't return it, right?
Yeah, there you go. You're doing the thinking man thing. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You could say that if you hit it 70 yards or 60 yards and there's a 20-yard return, the net's going to be the same as a 40-yard punt without a return. But at the same token, those you're not always guaranteed to give up just 20 yards. It could be a touchdown. It could be 50 yards. So let's not have a return at all, and we'll guarantee that the net's going to be 40. If you have a punt of 60, the net could be worse in some instances.
Can we guarantee to people that that's all the punting talk that we'll have for a little while?
Oh, when it comes to me, I don't know about that. But let's switch on to some contract talks and maybe two guys that could see contract extensions this summer or maybe not. We'll start with Joe Hayden, though. I know you wrote an article yesterday on it, Dave, talking about, will Joe Hayden get a contract extension this summer? I think Bob Labriola of Steelers.com downplayed the idea. I think is what he said, but I know you think it's still possible.
I don't think he so much downplayed it as much as he said he just really can't see the relationship between Hayden and the Steelers ending after this season. That was kind of my main takeaway. Now nobody's going to ever accuse Bob Labriola from knowing the ins and outs of the salary cap and contract structure and all like that. I mean that's just not what he does. And I mean look, that's a tough topic I know from firsthand to try to master there. But here's what Bob Labriola was asked, has there been any talks with Hayden concerning a contract extension? In case some of you are just getting caught up, Joe Hayden is now in the final year of of his current contract here. Labriola writes, I don't believe the Steelers have sufficient salary cap space left to do an extension for Joe Hayden this summer, but I also believe the team values him for his play on the field and for the calming influence and leadership he contributes to a secondary made up of mostly younger players. I also believe this. Hayden came into the league as a top 10 pick and as a result has been paid top dollar throughout his NFL career. And so at this point, the most important thing to him is the winning and annually competing for championship. Well, hold on. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. Not that the Steelers would suddenly offer him nothing but veteran minimum, nor would Hayden give up fair compensation to stay here, but this seems to be the kind of arrangement that both sides are interested in maintaining. Maybe I'm delusional, but I wouldn't be really worried if there's no extension for Hayden this summer because the Steelers value him and he likes playing here. As long as that remains the case, the other stuff will get worked out. Probably no truer sentence from Labriola than that last one about not being really worried if there's no extension for Hayden this summer because the Steelers value him and he likes playing there, and basically as long as that remains the case, the other stuff will get worked out. That's a fair way to address this. Now, the Steelers, when you look at what Joe Hayden's currently set to count against the salary cap this year, which is almost $12 million, they have plenty of room to do something with him because the deal that they would likely sign Joe Hayden to later on this offseason would A, either keep his salary cap number exactly the same, or B, lower it by about $1 million or $2 million. Okay, so bringing in salary cap space into the talk about whether or not Joe Hayden will get an extension done this year no need to even include that in the talk there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, him going on to say this, Hayden came into the league as a top 10 pick, and as a result, has been paid top dollar throughout his NFL career. And so at this point, the important thing to him is winning, blah, blah, blah. Ben Roethlisberger, that didn't make a difference to Ben Roethlisberger, did it? Now obviously Ben Roethlisberger has a couple of Lombardis and all like that. In today's world, in today's landscape, you got to get every dollar that you can.
Yep.
So, and if you're valued at people have you valued at X amount, that's the money that you should be paid and you should go after. And I don't think it'll be any different with Joe Hayden here. Now, if you like talking numbers like I do, every opportunity that I get to talk about contract structure and potential contract structure and value and what a contract might look like, I take an opportunity to do. And I think when you look at the list of cornerbacks around the league and you look at where maybe Joe Hayden ranks now and where he should rank, do you believe that Joe Hayden should be one of, let's say, the top 10 paid quarterbacks in the league?
Top 10? I don't know. Is he top 10 corner? You're asking me, is Joe Hayden a top 10 corner in the NFL? That's basically what you're asking, right?
I'm asking if he deserves to be paid like one. You can interpret that however you like to interpret that.
The open-ended portion of the Steelers Depot podcast. Is he a top 10 corner in the NFL? No, probably not. Is he a lot better than what I thought he was? Yes, I was pretty wrong on Joe Hayden. I'll be the first to admit it, that I was pretty sour-ish on the idea of Hayden becoming a Pittsburgh Steeler, but I think he's played really well. Is he going to get paid like a top 10 corner? I'd like him on the outside of that, looking in, preferably, like maybe in that 11 to 13 kind of range.
Right now, he's he's set to make $10 million this year in base salary. So if you're signing him to an extension, which would probably be a 2-year extension, right? I mean, you're not going to extend him much longer than 2 years, I wouldn't think here. So whatever extension you assign him to has got to include that $10 million he's already owned, and then whatever new money comes in on top of that $10 million would be his new yearly average. So, paying him $13 million a season average in new money, which would be $26 million in new money, would put Joe Hayden just inside right in the top 10 league wide. Okay. I don't think that's out of the question when it comes to him. Now, you brought in Steven Nelson. You're paying him like, what is it? 7.5, 8.5, something like that, in new money average. So, I mean, he's at least getting that, and to me,
sure.
I think it'd be kind of an insult to pay him. I mean, Joe Hayden currently averages $9 million. His last contract averages $9 million in earnings. Steven Nelson, the contract they just gave him, new money averages $8.5 million.
Yeah, you're not going to go below the $9 million you just gave Hayden on this last deal, 3 for $27. You're not going to go below that.
All right, so even if you gave Hayden $10 million, man, that puts him, I don't know, maybe not even top 20 or just inside top 20 of corners around the league there. I mean, who would you rather have, Bradley Roby or Joe Hayden? Who would you rather have, Darius Slay or Joe Hayden?
Well, I like Darius Slay. What did Xavier Howard just get? He got, he's going to get more than what Hayden got, but he just got
like 15 point something, I think, is what his new money's going to. He's going to be the top paid corner in the league. Look, I'm not saying he gets Patrick Peterson $14 million money. Does he? I mean, would you take AJ Bouye or Joe Hayden? Probably Bouye, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't be Hayden's agent here. We're not doing a good job. I will say probably in the 11 to 11.5 million range is where I'd go with Hayden, roughly.
Okay, well, if he's willing to take that, I think you run and sign him up right now.
Yeah, I want Hayden to be extended, for the record, just to be clear. I think he's played really well, and he hasn't shown signs of really slowing down.
Here's my takeaway, Alex. My takeaway is $13 million should be the max.
Okay. What's your preference? What's your number? You have a max, but where do you want to get hit? 12.
I guess 11 to 13.
Okay.
I mean, I I think he's doing you a favor if he signs for 11. I mean, he's coming off a contract that pays 9. Maybe 11's the right number for him. Maybe he'd be fine with that. I know he'd instantly probably sign for 13. Okay.
Yeah, well, I'll sign for 13.
And here's something else that I wrote in that article yesterday as well too, when it comes to his contract and why the number of getting him signed might not be 13 if you do it this year, and that's the fact that if he's stuck on getting $13 million a year in new money average, then realistically you could just let him play out this year at his $10 million. Be prepared to slap the franchise tag on him next year, and you're still at a 2-year total of $26 million. So where is the advantage of the Steelers doling out let's say $26 million over the next 2 years to lock Hayden up for 3 years, as opposed to just take it this year at $10 million, and if he has a good year and you want him to stick around, then slap the franchise tag on him for around $16 million next offseason, and you still got the $26 million, and you don't have any potential dead money tied up in him. You want
that franchise tag. Players aren't going to like you, Dave.
Well, right.
But I get it. I get what you're saying. I don't disagree.
So where's the incentive there? I guess where the incentive would come in for the Steelers to sign Hayden would be is if he decided to take $11 million in new money average, and then really even if you did that, you're talking about $32 million total over the 3 years, because it'd be a 2-year extension. You already owe him $10 million. You'd be paying him $22 million in new money, and you could potentially give him, I don't know. You could lower his cap number in the process by a couple of million in doing so, and still give him $14 million or so this year in total cash to sign, which is $4 million, $5 million more than what he's scheduled to earn this year.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, the reason to not use a tag is no one wants to use the tag. Players don't like the tag. Teams generally don't like the tag, and it's a player that wants to stay. So you prefer to get a deal done and agreed to than slapping the tag and making it a one-sided affair.
All right, so the question becomes, I've laid all this out here for you. Will they sign him to a contract extension this offseason?
I don't know. I think that's 50-50. I'm going to say yes, but I don't base that off of a lot. I think he will get done at some point, if not this offseason, as Bob Labriola said, that he'll come back before free agency next year, but I don't know which one it's going to be.
I think they do as well. I think when the smoke clears, once you get into training camp there, I think there's a good chance you get him done, and I think that number will be 11 to 13 million.
Yeah. No, I think it just makes too much sense. The Steelers want Hayden. Hayden wants to stay. He's been a good, productive player. He's great in the locker room. Great, steady leadership. It should get done, and I think it will get done. It's just a question of when.
And if you don't, I mean, who do you have? You don't have anybody behind him.
Justin Lane better develop real quick.
Yeah, exactly there. So that's something to look for, and I wanted to hit on that, being as how Bob Labriola hit on it. The salary cap space, don't worry about that. I think it just comes down to as it comes down with the Steelers and most contracts is, how much new money does he want? What's a new money average on that, and how much in year one does he want? And if you can do a deal where you only give him, I don't know, $10, $12 million give him the $10 million he was scheduled to earn this year as a signing bonus. Turn the $10 million that he's scheduled to earn this year into a signing bonus. Give him a base salary of I don't know, $4 or $5 million this year. So he takes home $14 or $15 million in 2019, and then work out the numbers from there. Obviously, if his new money average is to be $11 million after the first 2 years, you would expect him to take home, I don't know, about $24 million total. In cash. I think that can be done. So in the end, I do think that they'll work something out with him somewhere between the $11 and $13 million per year average, and I think that extension would be 2 years, making him a Steeler through the 2021 season.
The other member of the organization that's been talked about for a contract extension, at least speculated about, is Mike Tomlin. And Ed Bouchette was talking to Ron Cook and Joe Starkey on 93.7 The Fan, asked about his take on Tomlin getting a contract extension, and Bouchette said that they think he's a good coach, they want to keep him. Bouchette told the Fan he would get another job in a second. They've cleaned out the clubhouse, if you will, a little bit, and it's a new beginning, so I can see them extending Tomlin. And I think Bouchette made a reference to maybe paying Tomlin $9 million per year, I believe was the number.
I can see that happening. I know probably half our listeners want Tomlin out of town. Probably Colbert too. I mean, that's going to happen every year after you don't win a Super Bowl. But I don't see any reason why you wouldn't extend them, to be honest with you. I mean, I think they have a chance. I wouldn't be surprised right now. You go ahead and extend him. I think Tomlin, Roethlisberger, Pouncey, and Colbert are all tied together here.
Yeah.
I would not be shocked if after the 2021 season that you kind of have, a whole bunch of newness go on at that point. Because look, Tomlin's boys boys are getting older. One's going through college, and how much longer do you think Tomlin wants to be a head coach?
I think a long time. He's still 47. He loves football. That's all he does.
How old was Cowher when he stepped away?
A lot older than 47. He was 50 something. I can look. He's how old now?
Cowher just
62
turned
right now.
62, and he's been out of coaching since 2007.
Yeah, so he was 50. Yeah, that'd be 50. He retired. 51. Age 50.
I don't remember. That's what I'm asking.
I'm doing the basic math. I know.
Take your shoes off.
Yeah. So about 50. But I don't know. I mean,
I'm not saying that'll be. I mean, look. I mean, geez. I mean, how long do some of these guys want to do it? I mean, Tomlin obviously loves football right now and probably has no plans and not thinking that far ahead. But there is life after it, and family, and watching the kids. Who knows? I mean, what year number is Tomlin entering now? It'll be 13, right? Or no? Let's see.
2007.
2007. What's it? 13. Anyway,
I don't know.
I always get the years mixed up there, but anyway, there's no signs of he basically after 2021 would be right around the 15-year mark. I mean, that's a long time to stay with one team there. And Colbert, how much longer is he going to want to do this?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to bring up next briefly. Is that the other interesting thing, probably maybe even more interesting than Bouchette on Tomlin, was Bouchette saying that Colbert's quote taking things year by year. Which he's 62. I can talk about a guy that's been doing this forever. Been in football for literally ever, and been with the Steelers since 2000. So kind of have to start thinking about just a little bit about who might replace him and how much longer Colbert's going to have left.
Who would replace him right now? Omar?
It could be Omar. Remember, Omar got a look at Seattle, but I'm not sure. I just assume as really the really strong cat guy. But the guy I mentioned earlier, Brandon Hunt, I think could be in line, the pro scouting coordinator.
Yeah,
I look at Hunt.
He could be as well. Boy, it would be hell of a slight to Omar, though, right? To me, it would.
Yeah,
I mean, this is a guy that's interviewed around the league a few times now, And
Omar would get consideration, but he also hasn't gotten that. He got Seattle. I think Miami looked at him. Philadelphia almost stole Brandon Hunt from Pittsburgh, so Hunt's gotten looks too.
All right. Well, hopefully, we don't. I shouldn't say hopefully, because several people will turn off the podcast because several people don't like Colbert. But something to look forward to. But like I said, I can see at least through 2021. I wouldn't expect Colbert or Tomlin to go anywhere until then.
Imagine if they all left at once, though. Wow, that would be breaking up the band.
I don't know. If you got the right people in place, I mean.
Yeah, you say that now. Wait till your Twitter mentions show up in 2021.
I mean, do you really want to be around after Ben Roethlisberger is done?
True, that's a good point.
It is a franchise quarterback-driven league, and Lord knows we don't know if there's one behind Roethlisberger or not.
Yeah, Colbert just tells Brandon Hunt, "Good luck with Mason. Hopefully, I picked him well. If not, it's gonna be on you. You're gonna get fired for it. I'm out." So all speculation for down the road, though. Dave, couple minutes left on the show. You want to talk briefly about Gilbert III? I know you watched him a little bit. Any takeaways with him?
Yeah, well, my takeaway so far after going through a lot of this Akron tape is he lined up outside a lot. We heard Jerry Olsavsky talk about the pick, or Gilbert after making the pick, and boy, it speaks volumes for teams to line him up outside on the kind of players, on the skill position players that they did that against, and him running through the football and liking to hit people and all like that. All that's good and all, and you see some of that on tape. But what am I missing here with him? Tell me what I'm missing. You obviously, at this point, I don't know. Maybe I watched more tape than you have, but I think you were the one that wrote him up initially. What was the main things that made you? Because you were kind of high first on Gilbert once you went through his tape, right? I mean, you were kind of excited or saw the why the interest was there. But what am I missing on Gilbert?
Did you watch his 2017 tape or prior?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And you weren't crazy about that either?
I mean, I didn't see the sideline to sideline. I mean, really, I don't see other than running with guys in coverage. I didn't see, the breakups or anything.
He made some plays in coverage. They were kind of like fell into his lap type plays, but he made some. He had a big interception return, I think, in 2018. He's just the mold. Well, first of all, he's a 6th-round pick, so it's not like we're talking about Devin Bush. We're talking about a first-rounder. We're just seeing a guy that is versatile and is athletic. Is that what you saw on tape? Just generally speaking,
I haven't yet gotten a good sense of the athleticism. I really haven't.
Well, he had 4.51 at his pro day.
Sure. Well, I mean, I got that part of it, but as far as matching it up on the tape, I haven't seen it.
All right. So you think? How would you grade his athleticism on tape? Average?
Yeah.
Better? You think it's average?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've gone through right now, what games did you go through when you broke them down originally?
I'd have to look. I don't even remember right now. Several of them though. I mean, the guy had
where did his athleticism? Tackles? Where did you see his athleticism on tape stick out the most?
One, in how he was used, being able to play over receivers, play detached from the formation.
And I said I saw that. I see him
okay.
flex. I mean, he's outside the box a lot.
Yeah, and that speaks to a level of athleticism. Coaches aren't going to put him there if they think he can't move. So I mean, they're seeing something there. I think a little bit in coverage. I think I see some of the sideline to sideline. I think some of the makeup speed. I think some of the angles he takes to close on the ball. I think he flows well. So I see it. I mean, I can't give you too many specific plays off the top of my head because I did that report in like.
Well, I was going to gig you next. Can you give me kind of like 3 signature plays where you tell me this is Ulysses Gilbert?
Probably not right now. I mean, I can pull up my player profile on him and try to find what plays I had. I think I had some of the negative in there because there were concerns about size and taking on blocks and all the stuff you generally get with 224-pound linebackers. I have to go comb through my literal game notes for plays. But he had one interception he returned back for a good way. I'll have to get back to you on that.
All right. Well, let's try to talk about it next week a little bit more, and I'll try to go through. I know let me see how I'm downloading some of this stuff right now. I've got to the point where I need to watch more of them still.
Yeah, and I probably do too. It's like I said, I wrote that report on February 17th, so it's been a while.
I'm trying to get Akron. I think at Northwestern. Have you seen that?
I have.
And Akron at East. Who was it? East Carolina. Did they play East Carolina or Eastern Michigan? Maybe one of the two. I'm in the process of trying to download right now.
Yeah, check the Akron game in 2017. I'm just looking at my game notes. I have him for a tackle for loss, a pick, a breakup, another closing play, a blitz. Yeah, check Akron 2017. That would be a good place for you to go.
All right. Well,
or Toledo. I'm sorry, not Akron. He played at Akron. I'm dumb. Toledo 2017.
Oh, Akron at Toledo or Akron versus
Toledo? Yeah, I think
Toledo?
Toledo versus Akron. Yeah, I was saying it. I'm dumb. 2017 Toledo Akron. Check that game.
All right, I can't remember if that's been one that I've watched or not. It doesn't ring a bell. I think I've watched it the other way with Diontae Johnson.
Yeah, you probably saw both. All these guys has played each other, like Sutton Smith and Diontae Johnson, and I know they're obviously all MAC guys, but they just drafted guys that played against each other. They watched like 4 tapes, and they're like, all right, let's take these guys.
I think I watched, and just recently too, I think I watched Toledo Akron, but from focusing on Diontae Johnson there from 2017. All right, like I said, I just it hadn't hit me with him yet. So I'm going to continue to look and all like that. I did watch a little bit more of Zach Gentry from a blocking aspect, and yeah, he's got. You don't have to worry about him being moved out to left tackle anytime soon. I'll tell you that.
He's not terrible at it though. I think
he's not awful at it. But boy, he's not. He's not David Paulson.
God, yeah,
bad at it.
Rob Blanchflower.
And Blanchflower's problem is, damn, he could never stay healthy.
Yeah, he really never got a chance to block. He was always hurt, but
he always hurt there.
Yeah,
but
Paulson though, Paulson was.
Boy,
Paulson was a weird one. Like he didn't even fit what they did at all, and he wasn't a good athlete.
Right. He's not David Paulson bad. And obviously, when you have, sometimes I see his size as being a detriment to him.
Yeah.
So,
6'8" is tough. You got to block. Colby said you got to block differently when you're 6'8". His leverage is going to be an issue.
It's not awful, but there are. You go through and you watch. Who is that running back? There's Karan
Higdon. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to look on YouTube, just look for Karan Higdon tape. You'll easily be able to spot number 83 there in the Michigan tape in some run blocking situations there with him. But he's got a long way to go here.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dave, let's get to some reader emails here to close out the show.
All right, Ted Webb writes in, Connor's touches 2019. Connor had 270 touches last year in 13 games, missed a few games at the end of the season. With the addition of Snell, depending on how quick he gets up to speed, if I set the over-under at 225 touches for Connor, you guys going under or over, or maybe that's too high? Also, you think Steelers are going back to block numbers for home games? A lot of pictures of the Steelers show the players wearing home black with block numbers, hoping there's a chance of that. 220 is that's a good guess, Ted. I would think that makes it tough to maybe go over or under there.
I'll take the over slightly if he can play it the whole season. He had 270 last year in 13 games. I'll go slightly over.
Yeah, boy, that is a tough number. I think I would go maybe slightly over as well, but I don't know, maybe 230. I don't think you want James. That's why you got Snell in there, and I think that's why the skill set that Samuels has kind of all meshes in, and if Benny Snell can indeed pick things up, and as Alex and I talked in that last show, if his pass blocking is acceptable enough, you could see him get on the field sooner or later as well too. So do you want Connor playing 60 snaps a game? No. Do you want him playing 40?
It's more in line, I guess, 45 a game.
And then how many touches? Is he going to have 20? What's 225 divided by 16, Alex?
More math. 14.
Can he get 14 touches a game?
He can get 14 touches a game. He'll have a game where he's got like 25, 27.
Yeah, I think that's possible if he stays healthy. So, yeah, I think, Ted, I'd have to take the over by that. As far as the Steelers and the block numbers, I have no idea. They're obviously going to wear those as the throwbacks again, right?
Yeah, they look pretty sharp. I like them.
I don't think I've heard where those are going to be the uniforms for the home games this year yet. But I think the promos, I think what you're seeing is maybe the photo shoots to maybe go ahead of the throwback games or whatnot is all I can tell you there. So stay tuned. We'll see.
Yep, we will see.
David Ferguson writes in, "Hi, Dave and Alex. Love the show. You and others talk about how coming into the second year, Mason Rudolph should compete and hopefully take the number 2 spot from Dobbs. What would have prepared him for that? Is there a specific set of training for coaches give him to work on since he gets no playing and limited practice snaps, or is it just him studying tapes and staying fit? Why should we expect him to be better than Dobbs this training camp? Dobbs has been putting in the same work over the past year, I assume." Look, I mean, just because he's regarded as, I remember watching a lot of tape of Dobbs and Rudolph, obviously coming out of college. I was more impressed with the tape of Rudolph coming out than Dobbs. I view Rudolph entering the NFL as a better quarterback than Dobbs entering the NFL. Now, Rudolph obviously didn't do enough last year in the limited amount of time to bypass Dobbs on the depth chart here. Just from a what's the proper way to put it? Just from a pedigree standpoint, I would expect Mason Rudolph to overtake Dobbs.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you said. It's a talent thing, and it comes down to this. How did Josh Dobbs overtake Landry Jones in year 2? I mean, he was in the same situation Rudolph was in last year. It's being on equal footing. Dobbs had the advantage last year because Rudolph was the rookie. He was new to the system, new to the scheme, new to the NFL, had to pick up everything of how the Pittsburgh Steelers operate, from a practice standpoint, from a meeting standpoint, from a trust standpoint. I mean, everything. This year, they're on equal footing. They probably know the scheme about equally the same, and there's a level of comfort and trust and familiarity with the offense that's the same. So now Rudolph can focus on being a quarterback and not being the wide-eyed rookie still learning where everything is and how this whole thing works. And that's what's going to let Rudolph take that jump. So it's just a natural maturation and progress that all, year 1 guys should be, the maturation progress year 1 guys can make to year 2. So it's about now that they're on equal footing, Rudolph can really let his talent shine through, and we think that Rudolph is more talented than Josh Dobbs.
David, I don't think there's any one thing that would better prepare him for that. Like, here, Mason, we want you to do this during the off season, this, that, and the other. I mean, obviously, studying tape. Look, you just hope that he executes better. I mean, execution during training camp and the off season and progressions and all like that. I mean, just a whole ball of wax in pedigree and all that are kind of what Alex and I think are basing this off of. I mean, Dobbs was an okay college quarterback, but I view Rudolph as being the more talented quarterback coming out of college than Dobbs. All right, now if Rudolph can't beat out Dobbs this year, and this is no overall slight in my opinion on Dobbs, because I view Dobbs all along as a potential number 3 in the NFL, personally, and I hope I don't offend anybody in that. Obviously, he made it to number 2 last year, so he's doing something right and beat out a guy like Landry Jones, which obviously the bar wasn't that high there, but. People should be irate if Rudolph does not win the number 2, because why in the hell did you spend a 3rd round draft pick on a guy like Rudolph if he can't win the number 2 job a year after you took Dobbs?
Right.
I mean, it's different, 3 years removed to draft that position and all like that. But I mean, to go back-to-back drafts and draft a quarterback, and not only that, to trade up a little bit to get Dobbs, who you, out of your own mouths, you called a first-round talent. And if by year 2 he cannot be your backup, the evaluation was wrong there.
Yeah, but he won't be handed it. He's got to earn it, and we'll see what happens.
Sure. But I mean, people obviously need to be irate, in my opinion, if he can't do that.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
And I guess that's where our expectations to come in with Alex and I saying, well, we expect him to win the number 2 job.
Yeah, I mean, he'll play. When you know the playbook, when you know the system, you play faster. Last year, Rudolph was at a different play speed, probably behind Dobbs because he didn't know the system as well. You're thinking because you don't know this stuff by heart, and now that he knows it, he'll play a lot faster. His reads will be faster. He'll get the ball out quicker. He'll make better decisions. He'll make bigger plays. That's why he could elevate into the number 2 spot.
All right, Chris in Connecticut writes in, this is titled Diontae Johnson. Tomlin seems to be reluctant to give rookies any significant playing time. I know this has changed a bit the past few years, but Edmonds was out of necessity, and Watt is a bit of an outlier. Rookies have to be regular contributors nowadays. A huge underrated part of the Patriots' playoff run last season was a play of Sony Michel. Well, Sony Michel was first-round draft pick, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. There he is.
Okay. Well, I mean, all right. What do you think the chance that Diontae Johnson gets any sort of major role this year? His 2017 tape. Oh, this is funny. He's hitting some of the same things that I just hit on. Chris says his 2017 tape excites me. It did me too, Chris. As I said earlier in the show, he could add a great dimension to the offense. I just fear Tomlin will keep a subpar Moncrief ahead of him at the X. Thanks, Dave and Alex. Keep up the good work. Look, you can't. I don't think you can cherry pick this, Chris. You say, okay, reluctant to give him any significant playing time. However, but Edmonds was a necessity, and Watt was a bit of an outlier. They tried to give Washington some early playing time last year. Who else did they give some playing time rookie to last year, Alex?
Well, I was going to go even farther than that. I reject the premise in general. 2013, Jarvis Jones played 60% of the snaps. Le'Veon Bell played 65% of the snaps. Shazier was supposed to play a lot. He got hurt his rookie year. Stephon Tuitt even ended up playing 40% of the snaps. That didn't happen until late in the year. Bud Dupree, 2015, 50% of the snaps. Artie Burns, 2016, 77% of the snaps. Sean Davis, 70% of the snaps. Hargrave, 47% of the snaps. 2017, Watt, 75% of the snaps. Juju, 64% of the snaps, even with a short injury in there. Edmonds, 92% last year. That was, I think, most of any rookie that wasn't an offensive lineman. Washington was 50%, even with all his struggles. So first and second round picks, they play. And really since Tuitt, but even before that, but definitely since Tuitt, that's changed. So I reject the premise of the question.
You rebuke him.
Order.
Chris, you got rebuked. Are you cherry picking us here?
It was a problem in Pittsburgh in the past, but I think
especially on the defensive side of football. Yeah.
Remember when Cam Thomas played over Stephon Tuitt for the first 3 quarters of the season? That was a problem, but they've adjusted their approach.
Exactly, and even Cameron Hayward had it tough to find playing time.
Yeah.
Initially there. So, Chris, we think you're off the mark in that aspect of it, and if they deserve to play, they need to be out there. But when you get into when you look at Diontae Johnson, I think you see or heard our conversation about Diontae Johnson already. Should he press Dante Moncrief for X receiver snaps as the season progresses? Yeah, I think so. I'll be disappointed if he doesn't. I mean, that's why you drafted him, and Dante Moncrief is what he is. But to expect him to come out to shoot, getting 40 snaps a game, 30 snaps a game, I think is a little bit too much with Diontae Johnson. So that goes into, I don't know, let's see. If we're talking about the first, let's say, 6 games of the season, I think people should applaud if Diontae gets 100 total offensive snaps.
Yeah, we'll see. They're not going to put it into a box. They're going to see how he plays, and he'll either earn more time or he won't. That's how it goes.
All right, Christian Perry writes in, how confident should we be in Matt Fowler in the right tackle position as a whole? And to add to the age conversation, I'm 18. I've been a listener since 15. Woo! Christian, old enough to be my son. Christian, look, Matt Fowler's not going to go to the Pro Bowl anytime soon. When Marcus Gilbert was here and was healthy, he was on, especially at those last couple of seasons there. The problem was he couldn't stay on the field. I thought Matt Fowler as a whole represented himself well last year. We obviously didn't get to see a lot out of Chuk Okorafor. This kind of goes back into the pedigree thing that we just talked about, I think, with Rudolph and Dobbs, right, Alex? Mm-hmm. We would expect Okorafor to push hard for that right tackle position, and for a guy like Filer and maybe Hawkins to push him along the way. I think it would be a little bit of a disappointment if health is not an issue here and we get into week 1 and Okorafor is not the starting right tackle.
Yeah, I think Horford will be the starter, but I think you'll have good competition there, and that's what you want when you don't have a deciding guy. You have two talented players who have proven themselves.
I think the exciting thing about Matt Filer, what we learned last year, is that in a pinch he can play right tackle and not, I hate to say not be awful at it. And he was.
It was fine. It wasn't even a pinch. It was just he's fine there.
Right. He wasn't the issue. That team didn't make the playoffs, right? Or lost some of those games that they lost. So he is a serviceable guy, and I'm glad. And the thing about it too is he can play multiple positions for you as well. So there's nothing wrong there. You obviously went out and got a guy in Derwin Gray as well too. But I think it's a little tough to ask him to come in and maybe. I don't know. Can he beat a swing tackle? I don't know. I think that's a little tough, especially with his body type and probably being better projected as a guard. So I guess how confident we should be in Matt Filer. The better question should probably be, Christian, is how confident should we be in Chuks Okorafor?
Sure. Here's how I would frame it. You don't have to necessarily be uber confident in either one of those guys, but be confident that you have strong competition and good coaching that's going to help figure this whole situation out. That's what I'm confident about.
And I guess worst case scenario too here is, look, you can because we talk about tight end and all like that, there's probably going to be some instances, and even in the limited snaps that Hawkins has played with the Steelers, in between him being on the injured reserve, being that extra blocker.
Yep.
We're going to probably see a tackle report is eligible. Even Hubbard did it,
Yep, Villanueva did it, I think.
Probably 7 times a game, 6-7 times a game is probably not out of the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it'll be a good competition. I'm excited to watch it unfold.
I'm not overly concerned about it as we sit here right now. Are you about right tackle?
Nope, I think they'll figure it out. I think you got good options here. Like I said, I'm confident in the competition that'll be created and in the coaching, and that'll end in a good result.
Rory Prunella writes in. Roy is from Alaska, Alex.
Oh, let's have this be the last one, because I know we got interviews, I think, coming up from Rookie Minicamp, and I got to get to the post office before.
Long-time listener, first-time question asker. Love the show and the site. Appreciate all the work you guys put in. Where do you see Devin Bush's ceiling? Do you think he will be or have the potential to be better than Shazier was for the Steelers? Wow, look. This guy, Devin Bush, can be an over 100 tackle a year guy, I think, in the Steelers defense here. Better than Shazier was for the Steelers. Shazier was good about knifing and getting into the backfield. I don't think that, other than sacks, I don't think that's Bush's game. Bush's game is sideline to sideline. Bush's game is in coverage. Look, you go up 10 spots to draft a guy. You hope he can become the next guy for the next 10 years.
Absolutely. I'm not saying he's going to be Shazier, but if you want to talk about absolute ceilings, his absolute ceiling is the next Ryan Shazier. And I think either way, his ceiling is sky high. I think you could have a dominant player at inside linebacker.
All right, that's got it for now. As Alex said, we got some interviews coming in from Rookie Minicamp. We got to get the stuff on the site here and all. We will reconvene. Actually, we won't reconvene next week. I'll be on vacation next week, folks. So no episodes of the Terrible Podcast next week. Maybe Alex will put up a video or two, right, Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to try to do something.
In lieu of the Terrible Podcast on the site, so be on the lookout for that. I'm going to try to, the one time a year I try to get away for a week is next week, going to Seattle and L.A. So no podcast next week there. And in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, please go to SteelersDepot.com and hit the donate button upper right navigation bar. If you want a year subscription to SteelersDepot.com without the ads, go to SteelersDepot.com, and for $25 you can have that. Hit the ad-free button in the upper right navigational bar. And as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.